Not so long ago, a buddy of mine was recounting to me a conversation he had with his wife in which they were discussing a mutual friend. And the husband said, "He's mean." And his wife pondered his words, and then she responded, "He's hurting. He's hurting." And the wife wasn't contradicting her husband. There was no question. This gentleman had a mean streak in him. So she wasn't contradicting, but she was explaining the behavior that her husband observed. He's hurting. Meaning there is some kind of pain in his heart that never got healed, never got treated. And as a result, it expresses itself in meanness. Jesus talks about this dynamic in the Gospel of Matthew. He says, "It is not what enters one's mouth that defiles that person, but what comes out of the mouth is what defiles one." The things that come out of the mouth come from where? From the heart. And these defile. For from the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, unchastity, theft, false witness, blasphemy. These are what defile a person. And we might add that out of the heart comes that mean streak that relates with such disrespect to the people around us. Now, what is Jesus saying? Sinful fruit usually has roots. Sinful fruit usually has roots. And so often what we do is we try to get rid of the fruit. We try to prune it. And we neglect the roots from which the sin grows. So, the fruit are the visible, observable, sinful actions, speech, thoughts in which we engage. But the roots are what's hidden, the hidden sources of our faults that are buried in our hearts. This past summer, I was thrilled. We decided in the rectory that we were going to have some landscaping work done. And the landscapers came out and started to get rid of all kinds of weeds. They were cutting weeds left and right in preparation for laying the ground for fresh mulch in the yard. I got to admit, I'm kind of a landscaping freak. I love lawn work, yard work. Well, when they were done, the results were fabulous. The yard looked beautiful. Now, you can imagine how I felt about a week ago. I was on the front lawn when there, to my surprise, weeds had worked their way through the mulch. So there you get a somewhat embarrassing visual of the front lawn of the rectory That's in front of the house. And that green stuff you're looking at there, them ain't flowers. You see, they had used these sort of weed whackers, and they'd cut the weeds down to ground level, but the problem is what? The roots are still firmly embedded in the soil. And that means it's only a matter of time before those roots sprout new fruit. And fresh weeds that are eyesores, at least to me, start to crop up amidst this beautiful mulch. Now, my friends, sin is like this. Failure to address the roots of sin, those hidden sources of it buried in our hearts, only guarantees that the sinful behavior that we lop off, give it time, it comes back. It comes back for an encore performance. Oh, we went to confession and we come out feeling good, don't we? Because we cut off that sin. We got rid of all that fruit. And then we think our work is done. But the roots remain embedded in the heart. And Jesus would take care of it if we let him. So what is this root system that the Lord is trying to bring to our attention today? First of all, wounds. Wounds. A wound is something from our past, something from the past that stings us, hurts us, shamed us. You can tell when you're dealing with a wound when the very memory of the occasion causes you to cringe. You were wounded years ago, and today, if it comes up, oh, we cringe. You see, if you could take an X-ray of the spiritual and emotional state of our human hearts, you would see scars. You would see wounds from the ways that we've been hurt over the years. Sensitive, emotional wounds, too sensitive to be touched. You know, when we've got a physical wound that has not yet healed, and someone tries to put their finger on it in its pain, what do? We recoil. And sometimes it's so sensitive we screech because it hurts. And these inner wounds are like this, my friends. You let someone around us get too close to that hidden area of pain in our lives, and oh, we react. And oh, we lash out. And sometimes the wound is so old, we don't even know why we're lashing out. Unhealed pain, untreated wounds. It's part of the root system that you can't see without that spiritual X-ray that Jesus performs on our hearts. But it's not just wounds that are a part of the root system. Priest from Louisiana that I heard speak recently, Father Mark Toops, he says also part of that root system is lies. Lies. You see, whenever we're wounded, seriously hurt or shamed, the enemy of our souls, he creeps up alongside us and he grabs our ear and he starts to whisper. He starts to whisper. Oh, he's ready to interpret what just happened and what it says to you about you. He lies. He lies to us about ourselves. This is the man who says, I don't think I have what it takes to be a real man. He's steeped in feelings of inadequacy, but those feelings are fed by lies that the enemy has whispered into his heart. Or another lie, I'm ugly. And here my heart goes out to so many young women who in the movies and the television, they're marketing what it means to be beautiful, what it means to be feminine. And these young ladies, they look at those media images, and then they look in the mirror and say, oh my goodness, that's not me. I'm ugly. And no one around them that knows them would agree with this assessment. But the enemy lies, and he poisons the soul. He lies to us about others. My mother never loved me. He lies to us about others. My friends all think I'm nothing but a joke. He lies to us about the presence of God. This happens especially when we're hurting. Because when we're hurting, one of the first questions out of our mind, out of our mouth is, where is God? And if he loved me, why would he allow such and such to happen to me? If he really loved me, why hasn't he answered my prayer? Oh, he doesn't care, not about me. You see, the enemy waiting for just the right moment to whisper and to poison the soul. Sometimes the lies are spoken to us, about us, from other people who should love us. And so sometimes it's a teacher or a coach. It might even be a parent who in a moment of disappointment with a kid's behavior will say to that kid, you'll never amount to anything. And if it happens from the right person at the right age, oh, it's like a dagger in the heart. And 50 years later, he recalls what Dad said with tears. Oh, I've seen it happen in prayer ministry. Lies ensnare us. They take us captive. They hold us hostage. The lies create a kind of inner bondage. And we find ourselves wishing we could be free. We don't even know what the tapes are. We just know we're all bound up inside. Well, my friends, if you are someone who is yearning for freedom, there is good news I have to share with you today. The gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ has the power not only to forgive sin, it has the power also to reveal the roots of sin and to liberate us and to heal us. The Archbishop talks about this in Unleash the Gospel, his pastoral letter. He says, many people today are deeply wounded by contemporary social ills, such as the breakdown of the family, abuse, poverty, or racism. But Jesus, quoting from the prophet Isaiah, described his own mission as a work of healing and liberation. Jesus says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to bring glad tidings to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, and to let the oppressed go free. See, the Lord Jesus is in the midst of his church these days, and he is with us to set the captives free. This on the screen is a painting of the Good Samaritan. Johann Karl Loth painted this. The Good Samaritan is the man in the blue robe with the turban on his head. He's attending to the man who, remember, it says he had been stripped and beaten and left for dead. And the Good Samaritan in one hand has a vial, like a jar, of healing ointment. And then look at that other hand of his on the chest of the victim, examining his wounds, probing the wounds. And if you could see his eyes, it's as though he's looking beyond his skin into his heart. Because when you pass through trauma like this, it's not just your body that needs healing. The heart has been wounded by what's been done to you. And he wants to touch the wound in order to heal it. He wants to uncover the lies in order to liberate this man from them. Some theologians say Jesus Christ is the true Good Samaritan. And so I ask you, if you were this wounded man lying beside the roadside, and Jesus came to touch you, what wounds would he put his finger on? What lie that you have believed for years would the good physician want to uncover and say, "Oh, my child, be set free"? These are matters the Lord is inviting us to bring to him in prayer. Father Toops, he recommends 3 steps. He actually recommends more, but there are 3 I want to focus on, and 2 of my own I want to add. He recommends, first of all, ask God to reveal the patterns of sin in our lives. Now, if you reflect on that and don't come up with anything, maybe it's because you're a saint. I would suggest that more likely it's a sign that if you're married, you should ask your spouse. If you're a young person and can't come up with anything, ask mom and dad. And let's say you're single and grown, can't come up with anything, ask your brothers and sisters. They'll give you a mouthful. We know one another, don't we? When we live together in family. So this is the first step. Ask God to reveal the patterns. Second, ask God to reveal the attitudes, the thoughts, the lies that feed these patterns. And then third, ask God to reveal the roots of these attitudes. Father says, be patient here. I would add, ask for courage. Because often the way the Lord responds to that prayer is He brings to mind a pain-filled memory. And when that happens, do you know there are places in our hearts that we can't go without God's love? So ask the Lord to come stand by you when He shows you the wound from which the lies and the sin proceeds. My step 4, ask the Lord to apply the healing balm of His love and mercy to everything He reveals. I love the way Pope Benedict put it. He says, whoever truly wishes to heal man must see him in his wholeness and must know that his ultimate healing can only be God's love. Do you hear that? There's so many lies that have us in its grip. And the only thing that can heal us is the love of God revealed in the heart of Jesus. And then finally, seek the help of a trained prayer minister from the parish. These are people who have walked this path with many of their brothers and sisters and walked it themselves. They're experienced. They know how to pray with us in a way that leads us to breakthroughs. So, my friends, the Lord, I believe, has initiated a season of grace for His people. The Lord is pouring out healing graces that set the captives free inside. And Jesus is inviting us to take advantage of this opportunity and to not miss the mercy that is available to us who have been carrying wounds and pain since we can remember. Jesus is here to set the captives free.